Hey guys, Drifter here. Today I've got a video for you on how to get more wins in Blackout. This is the mode that I've been playing the most, this is the mode that I'm trying to get good at, and this is the mode where I have by far the most wins / highest success. Right now I'm on about a 40% win ratio in squads, and I think I'm at 60% wins in solos with about 25-ish total wins. So I'm doing pretty good in this mode, and I wanted to offer you my best tips on how to play better and how to win more games. We're going to start off with some very basic tips for those of you that may not have played Battle Royale before, and then work our way into very specific tips for Call of Duty Blackout. The gameplay, of course, is going to be Blackout. Some of it will be very relevant to what I'm saying, and some will just be my best moments. So let's start out with some basic Battle Royale tips and then some basic Blackout tips. So basic Battle Royale tips, this will be number 1 today. You don't have to land in hot areas, especially if you're playing solos or duos. There's lots of unnamed locations, lots of off-meta places that you can land to get good loot. You don't have to do Nuketown and firing range. You can fly really far away, land at a decent little house or a series of houses, and you'll probably get enough loot to be combat ready. Work the skinny part of the 2 circles. When the zone collapses, you don't want to be on the fat side and have to run super far and get shot by everybody. You want to work your way around the circle to the narrow part as much as possible. Stick to high ground and cover, even if it's not the best circle position. Even if the circle position is rough and it could be better, having cover is the most important thing in the game, and having high ground is the second most important. It's a Battle Royale game. It's not a slaying kind of game, so there is no shame in hiding. And there's no shame in scavenging. I do think it's kind of weenie if you sit in a bathroom the entire game, but if you see a fight going on or a person pushes you and you can't handle them, it's okay to not take that fight and live, because your goal is to be the last person alive. And on that same topic, loot isn't always worth your life. This is what gets me pretty bad, because I'm a loot goblin. I really like to go get the best loot possible, but sometimes it gets me killed. Sometimes you just have to say, that bag is in a terrible, dangerous open position, and you think to yourself, you killed this guy because he ran into the open. If you also run into the open, somebody else could be watching for you. Now, some basic Blackout tips specifically. Number 1 is that I don't believe that armor is that important or not worth your life to go pick up. If you don't have armor and you kill a guy, it's maybe not worth your time to run out there and get that armor, especially if it's already going to be damaged a little bit. I win a lot of fights unarmored. Armored is nice. Armored is great if you can have it. It's not worth dying for. When you drop out of the plane, it's best to fly down and then pull up and go out. You just drop, point straight down, and about the time you're hitting 65 miles an hour, 60 kilometers an hour, you pull up and you can glide almost straight out and go super far. Using this same method, you can fly almost anywhere on the map, so you can land close or far from the plane or crazy far from the plane. But most other gamers already know this, that's why it's in the basic tips. So given how many people know this and do this, do keep in mind that any landing can be hot. Your little no-name spot that you think is special to you might be special to somebody else too, and you might have to fight there with pistols or whatever you find. And finally, when it comes to looting, at least attachments, you want to prioritize optics and extended mags. Having a sight and having extended mags on your gun is super important, because I believe that most of the fights in Blackout come down to suppression and number of hits instead of damage per hit. And on that topic, we're going to move into tip number 2 today. That was a very long tip number 1. That's just the basics out of the way. Number 2, I want to focus on the weapons, specifically the rifles, because some guns are better than others in this mode. Just objectively speaking, it's not like multiplayer where all the attachments balance things out. There's just better stuff to have in Blackout. And in Blackout, rifles are your workhorses. Rifles are not specialized, but rifles will work in every situation, and most of your gunfights will either be you using a rifle or at least versus somebody that has a rifle. In my experience, the rifles that work the best are ones that have low recoil and high magazine count, and the rate of fire isn't super important, but having a high rate of fire is nice. So the rifle tier list of which rifle is better than the other and which ones I think you should be picking up. Number 1 is the Maddox. That's a 5.56 rifle. It has a huge magazine, ridiculously huge at 60 with extended mags, very low recoil with a grip, little not so great without the grip, and you can put a ton of attachments on it. You can put a lot of suppressing fire and a lot of fire downstream in general, very high rate of fire, good gun. The Vapor is a very close second. The Vapor has better handling properties than the other rifles. It's closer in nature to an SMG, has a good rate of fire, super low recoil, very easy to use, has a unique suppressor that works better than other rifles. Really like the Vapor. Vapor. After the Vapor, the KN55 is fantastic. Now, it shoots a little bit slower than the other rifles on this list. However, it does use 7.62 ammo, which gives it better ballistics. It deals a ton of damage per shot, and it's pretty low recoil in general. It's not a hard gun to use. After the KN55, I recommend the ICR. It's kind of like a worse Maddox, or at least it's a very low recoil Maddox. The gun is super easy to use. It's the McDonald's cheeseburger of guns in this game. Anybody can pick up the ICR and use it because it doesn't kick very much, but it kind of lacks in raw damage output. And finally, at number 5, I recommend the Auger DMR. The single shot rifle is super, super good when you put extended barrel on it. It's also pretty good with suppressor because people won't know where you're from. You can use it like a great value sniper rifle. You can suppress people, get really high damage headshots. That can be a good gun to use if you're comfortable with single fire, which not many people are in Blackout. Also good in my special recommendation sections when it comes to submachine guns, the GKS SMG is my top SMG. The 45 caliber ammo has a little bit better ballistics and it has a really good damage output. It's not as crazy damage output as the Spitfire or the Cordite or the SOG, but it's super low recoil. So in this mode, I can actually use it more like an assault rifle, but a little bit more close range. It works good for me. The other one that I think is really good is the Cordite SMG, but only when you have extended mags on it. So you have a 90 round magazine and you can just suppress people into the ground. The other ones, the SOG and the Spitfire, they just kick way too much to be reliable for Blackout mode, where accuracy and shots matter so much at long range. There are 3 weapons that I would recommend you avoid. The number 1 weapon I believe you should avoid is the Rampart assault rifle. I really enjoyed this one in multiplayer, and when I was first playing Blackout, I used it a lot because I thought the stats would carry over, or at least the performance would. And the reality is it kind of does, in that it has the same, really high damage and the good ballistics and all that, but it kicks way too much and way too unreliably for Blackout. It also doesn't shoot very fast, so it's hard to get a lot of shots on downrange, and I think it's the worst assault rifle. I also generally do not like the Swordfish or the ABR-23, the burst rifles, for similar reasons. They are really good in medium and close range combat, where you can get that full burst on and crank out a whole ton of damage. But if you're using these weapons at really long ranges, the shake on the burst is too much for you to hit more than your first shot and have it be random. Though I do know that some people really like the ABR with the suppressor and they just kind of tickle people at ranges, but in general I avoid them if I can. Tip number 3 is to prioritize long-range weapons like, say, sniper rifles. It's always good to have a sniper rifle in your back pocket. You can pull it out and pop people at long ranges. You can use the sight to see from super far away. I will tell you not to get dependent on them. A lot of people love sniping in Blackout. They love getting picks and then pushing teams. They love the feel of getting a long-range kill. Unfortunately, when they stand still too long and don't move or do anything, I can just walk over and pop you while you're sniping somebody else. So if you're gonna snipe, which is a perfectly good tactic and I would recommend it a lot, just make sure that when you aim down sights, don't stand still for too long. Be a little bit more of a mobile sniper. Even if you're worried about people seeing your shadow move around, it's way better than getting picked by some guy who's just waiting for you to stand still. It's also a really good idea to change your sights as the circle closes in on your sniper, even putting a 2x or a 3x on it instead of longer range ones, so you can just start a gunfight by popping somebody with a sniper and then swapping back over to your assault rifle. Tip number 4 has to do with extended barrel and suppressor. I personally believe that extended barrel is overall the best attachment to pick up in Blackout, except for perhaps optics, because it just greatly reduces your bullet drop and it increases your damage at long ranges. It makes it just way easier for you to land shots at long range if you want to poke at people. But I'm going to say this is best for squads or maybe for duos where it's kind of harder to hide. If you are in a squad fight, one member of either squad is going to figure out where they are pretty quickly and you can't hide with suppressors or anything. So having that range advantage is very nice. However, the suppressor is best for solos. When I play solos, I really enjoy having a suppressor. I don't like making noise. I don't want people to know where I am. And I also don't get tracer rounds. They can't see the direction of my bullets coming out of the gun, so they have no idea where I'm shooting from. It does punish your bullet drop a lot. The suppressor will make your bullets slower, and it'll make them fall faster. However, in solos, I really don't want to attract a whole lot of attention and get scavenged, so suppressor in solos is good for me. And in general, the way I run these in whatever mode is I make sure that whatever long range gun I have has extended barrel on it, and I put the suppressor on whatever close range gun. In many cases for me, that's extended barrel on a rifle and suppressor for the submachine gun. Tip number 5 for Blackout is that headshots are always worth it in this mode. This is a mode where people can have really crazy amounts of armor and health, and where your time to kill matters a ton. So if you are able to get headshots, I would recommend it 100% of the time. The risk reward is very much so in your favor. A lot of the weapons, at least the ones that I recommend, are low recoil, so it's not too hard to get them. Also, if you kill somebody with a headshot, you have the opportunity to take their armor undamaged, which is kind of nice. I usually aim for the head neck area if I can. I mean that if I can. If they give me the opportunity to aim, I'm going to aim for that upper chest, neck, and kind of head area, and I'll squeak in a headshot and finish them faster than they'll get me. However, just don't always do this. If you don't have an opportunity to aim well, if you're getting rushed, if you just have to make do, just get shots on, period. Just getting shots on is way better than going for headshots if you're in kind of a bad situation. Now let's move into some very Blackout specific tips. These are the juicy ones today. Number 6, my tip, is that the QuickEquip menu that you work with the D-pad is your friends. This wins game. Now if you're playing on PC, that'll just be tab, but working that D-pad to swap items and swap equipment very, very quickly and effectively will win you games, because you can use the utility items you pick up way more effectively and more fast than anybody else possibly can. So it is very, very important that you get good and comfortable with that D-pad. You'll see me use it a lot. And good and comfortable moving around, even if it's in a straight line or wiggle wobbling, while you're working D-pad items, also very, very nice. When it comes to gunfights, I really strongly recommend keeping your med kits, which is the little red packets, equipped for rapid use. Don't keep the band-aids equipped. A lot of people like to save the med kits like they're valuable. I like to use them immediately because there is no shame in doing one heal between peaks. A lot of gunfights in this game are multiple peaks and long exchanges, and being able to get 50 health points back really quickly with a medkit and then get back into the fight is better than screwing around with band-aids. Because some gunfights are just health attrition battles over time. You just have to out-heal people, out-weight them and bleed their armor off or whatever, and being able to heal quickly with medkits instead of slow band-aids or screwing around with the D-pad is a really good thing. Though I will tell you, don't focus on healing too much. There is a balance to it. If you just take a shot and then hide and heal 100% of the time, a smart enemy will reposition or nade you or punish you in some other way. So there's a balance to it, but personally, anytime I get lower than 125 health, I'm going to heal. Tip number 8, and we're going to be on this one for a while, is that equipment and perks win games. Equipment is your lord and savior in this game. When I play, I am the goody guy on my squad. I always have sensor darts and grenades and gadgets and shields and just all sorts of stuff, because I believe that equipment is really what wins you the game, especially in the late game. Your gun skill will get you to the late game. How you use the equipment will win the late game, so you should stack as many pieces of goodies as possible. And I do have an equipment tier list. The number one most important thing you can have is a 9-bang. It throws quick, it deploys quick, and it's extremely disorienting for enemies. It prevents them from healing, prevents them from ducking, moving, seeing, reloading. They can still hip fire, but they rarely kill you with it. And you can stack them 2 at a time, so 9-bangs, super valuable.
Exactly how we drilled it.
Good in town.
Cluster grenades, immediately after that, they're just like Simtexes that blow up into little stickies. It's just batteries grenade. Super powerful. It's like having 5 grenades in one. You just throw them, stick them, forget them. You can use them to suppress. You can use them to punish. You can throw them into buildings. You can do a lot of stuff with them. They're incredibly good and much better than the regular grenades or Molotovs. A very close number 3, I almost put this one at number 2, is the sensor dart. Having the sensor dart, which pings people on the radar, is god tier, especially in squads and especially in the last circle or two. Knowing where enemies are and how they're positioning and moving will just 100% make the time difference between being alive and dead. It's just like having a personal UAV in multiplayer. Also, you can put them on different vehicles. You can do a little damage if you shoot somebody, and you can just hide them in goofy places. Having a trophy system is super underrated. I put trophy system on this list because trophy system is extremely important for late game so that you don't get grenade spammed. Not a lot of people use them, but they do save lives. Finally, you can have concussions. They're similar to 9-bangs, but they throw a little bit quicker. Concussions are nice. And I decided to add the tomahawk because tomahawks are just very very underrated in this game. I get good kills with tomahawks. I put people down with tomahawks, and when you're down, when you're desperate, when it's you versus a squad and there's nothing else going on and you just don't have ammo or anything, a tomahawk will kill somebody instantly. A tomahawk will drop a level 3 armor guy. A tomahawk is the best thing to have when you're clearing buildings because it kills campers instantly. I mean, look what I did with a tomahawk right here.
Circle collapse imminent. Get to safety.
So yeah, tomahawk's kind of specific to your needs, but worth picking up. Also, we have a perk tier list. Dead silence is the #1 most important perk you can have. It makes your footsteps quiet. It makes it you can just sprint around and people can't hear you. You can sneak up on them super easy. God tier perk. There's also Skulker. Skulker is kind of like great value dead silence, and basically if you crouch, your footsteps make virtually no noise and you can move around almost as fast as sprinting. You get better hip fire too, so you can skulk around. It's kind of like the Dollar Tree version or great value version of dead silence. Similarly, awareness is top tier. Awareness just saves lives. Oh my god, being able to hear footsteps and reloads and things from super far away is great. Reinforced is underrated as heck. I can't curse on YouTube, they'll demonetize me. Reinforced is great for the last circle, and Engineer is great for the last circle. Reinforced makes it where stuns and grenades don't bother you as much, and Engineer allows you to see equipment. So my tips with these, which would be number 9, is that you should save the sensor dart and trophy system for the last circle or 2 if possible. If you have a really good idea of where people are in the last circle or 2 but you can't really see them, just spam out the sensor dart on top of a tree or in a hard to shoot location and you'll get vision on half, if not more, of the circle, which is just godly. And you can also put it on a vehicle, or you can just shoot it super far. You can do a lot of things with it. The other thing to do is to put down a trophy system pretty close to wherever you plan to camp. Wherever your high ground is, wherever your cover is, just put down a trophy system so that people can't spam you with grenades, and this will give you a huge advantage in the upcoming grenade war, because the last circle or 2 is all about your equipment and your grenades and how you're using them, and if you have a trophy system popping out people's 9-bangs and cluster darts and molotovs, it just gives you a huge advantage so that you can spam them and they can't return fire whatsoever. Dead silence, skulker, awareness, all of your sound perks are best used in the last circle when there's people still moving. Don't get me wrong, it's good to use them anytime you think they can give you an advantage and get the kill and move on to the next thing, but the last circle, not the last, my apologies, next to last circle. The next to last circle is the best one because there's going to be a lot of people alive, there's going to be a lot of people running around and repositioning, so if you can reposition silently while listening to other people, you will get a lot of kills. For example, just look at how this engagement panned out for me because I had awareness.
Circle collapse imminent. Get to safety.
In most cases, Engineer is also good to use for the last circle, and save Reinforced for the end if you can too. That way you can see other people's sensor darts and equipment, kind of gives you an idea of where they're going to be, and Reinforced makes it harder for them to just kind of spam you with 9-bangs and stuns. You can kind of tank through that if possible. So those are very good in-game perks, but I don't always have them in my inventory. Overall, how the flow of the game works is that your early game, you should be focusing on getting a gun, surviving. Land somewhere, get your gun, get your armor, get some meds, get ready to fight, survive your hot drop, and you'll be okay. The mid-game is the slowest part of the game, and positioning is extremely important here. You want to position yourself well with the circle, well with cover. In mid-game, I don't pick fights unless I have to. I'll do it on stream just to show off, but if I really want to win, I'm only going to pick fights that truly benefit me. I don't just go bloodthirsty. In late game, is way more like traditional multiplayer. Your late game, your last 10 people alive is all about using your gadgets, your equipment, your awareness, and all of those things to get information to just tilt the gunfights as much as possible to your advantage. And finally, my last tip today, number 12, is that the dark shadows under trees are amazing hiding spots. Especially when you're in the woods, in the places where the trees cast shadows, you can prone out in the grass, you can sit behind the tree, and as long as you don't move too much, you blend in really, really well. So if you need to hide, sometimes just proning out in the dark grass will work way better than sitting behind a rock. Guys, that is all for my tips on how to win more games in Blackout. That's literally what I do to get my wins, and I hope that I was able to help some of you get some wins. Hope you were able to learn something useful, and if you were, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Drifter out.
Request immediate AAR and redeploy to new hot zone.
Mission area secure. Good work.